Hey there, so in this video we are going to be working our way through daily reports. First thing you want to do for a daily report is to find your project. We're going to be working on our training project here. I'm going to select add. It's going to bring me to what do I need to add. I'm going to go ahead and select add a daily report. And that's bringing us to our daily report homepage. So kind of just starting at the top and working our way down. If we're happy with today's date, we can leave it. I'm going to go ahead and change the start time here to, let's call it 6:30 a.m. Change that to 6:30. Whatever time you guys started on the project. And working our way down again, I'm going to select the tab that says environment. You need to go ahead and select the weather conditions. Depending on where the project's located, sometimes this information will pull in automatically. Sometimes you'll have to manually input it, but the highs and lows will always import by themselves. So once you've inputted what you're happy with here, so what I did is I actually clicked into this text field. It brought up my box of options at the bottom, and when I've selected what I needed to select, I click done. But once we're happy with the input here, we're going to go ahead and click continue. That brings us back to our daily report homepage. So as we're going through this, what you're doing is you're clicking into these different fields, you're inputting what you need to, and then you're being brought back to this daily report homepage. Now let's say you get started on the daily report and you're not necessarily able to do this and complete this all at one time or one sitting. Maybe you need to save it and come back to that later. So the way you save it and kind of close out of the daily report is you click the save button in the bottom left-hand corner. It's going to tell you that you've successfully saved. You'll click OK. And then you're free to kind of explore the rest of the app and use the rest of the functionalities. Maybe you close out of the app and we get to lunch or at the end of the day and you realize you need to finish the rest of the daily report. So how to access a daily report that you've already started in on. You're going to find your project. We're going to select the detail tab on the left. And we see our daily reports here at the bottom. It tells you how many you have currently in draft. So ideally, if it's just you working on that project, you should only have one. I'm going to go ahead and click into our daily reports. For this project, it lets you know that this was created by CK and this is the date. We're going to go ahead and select into this. It's going to bring us back to our daily report homepage. So kind of starting with continuing with notes and then working our way down. Notes can be used for whatever you need to kind of include as a note on the project. And when we click into notes, we notice we don't have any current notes. What we need to do is add a new note by selecting the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner. And we are met with our notes. So maybe if you need to kind of give a heads up that you've got some material that you would need on the project or any kind of other items that you would see fit for including notes, you would input that information here. So notes, information here. If you needed to include a photo, you could take a photo with the camera or you could choose from your existing photos in your library. I'm going to go ahead and select continue because I'm done with my note. It's going to bring me to my list of notes. I've got one in there. And if I need to go back to my ticket homepage, hit back at the bottom. That's going to bring us back to our ticket homepage. Next item we're going to go into is the survey section. So these are going to be yes or no questions, and I want you to make sure that you're reading these thoroughly and kind of making sure you read them consistently because there are chances that the office could potentially change these questions at any point in time, but they are yes or no questions. And what you'll notice is some of these questions do have if yes, include note. So that kind of brings us back to that previous note screen that we're on. So in this, I'm going to go ahead and select yes to this first question, and then for the rest of these, I'm going to select no. And since I did select yes for this first question, I know if yes, include a no. So are there any safety concerns with this project? Go ahead and click continue. I know that I need to go back to my notes section and include what the safety concern was. I'm brought to my list of notes. I'm going to hit the plus sign to create my second note. So I inputted safety concern as XYZ. That's where you would describe the safety concern, and if it's appropriate, then you can take a photo or you can include an existing photo that you've already taken. So I'm going to click continue. I'm going to click back at the bottom. That's going to bring me back to my daily report homepage. Next item that we're going to go into is going to be labor. So I'm going to select a classification at the top. So by clicking into select a classification, it brings me with the drop down and painters. So the first section is the employees input. So how many employees were out there? So if I had 2 painters, I'm going to put 2. And then the hours is the total number of hours. So if you had 2 guys that were out there for 8 hours each, our total hours is going to be 16. And when we're happy with that, we're going to click continue. That's going to bring us right back to our daily report homepage. Equipment. So if you need a servicing or calling off of equipment, obviously make sure to contact the office, but it's also would be nice to include in here as well. This has been requested from your office as well, as if you click in your equipment. If we had a scissor lift or an interior lift, there was 2 of them or 1 of them, and we need to be called off. So called off to service, go ahead and just hit these radio buttons, and that will either check the call off or check the service if we click service. Again, you select these and those will turn, and if we unselect that, we can go ahead and unselect it. I'm going to go ahead and click continue since I'm good with my equipment. And for your company specifically, we're not going to worry about the trade inspections, vendor deliveries, or subcontractors. The last section we're going to focus in on here is at the very bottom. So make sure you scroll all the way to the bottom. And we have 2 sections, work performed today, and then areas not ready for work. So if we click into our work performed today, it's going to bring us to a very similar experience as the notes. So there's nothing in here, and it's because we have not inputted an area that we were working in. So we need to hit the plus sign in the upper right hand corner, and we have a location. So if we were in the warehouse and scope of work, we were painting south and eastern walls. You can include a picture with the camera. You can choose an existing photo from your library. And when you're happy with this area, we're going to click continue. Now you have the ability to include multiple areas. So if you are on different sides of a project, or if you really want to highlight multiple areas, we highly advise that you include then at the plus sign, a location. This would be our location 2. So this would be the description of this second area that you were in, and the scope of work would be the action that you were doing in that second area. So we're not always necessarily looking for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 areas or locations, but if you were working in different phases or different sections of the project, make sure to include a few different areas. That way it's clear of where exactly it is that you were working. And once you're happy with your areas work today, we're going to go ahead and select back. It's going to bring us back to our daily report homepage, and then our last section is going to be our areas not ready for work. Again, when we click into areas not ready for work, we're met with a blank screen. We need to hit the plus sign. It's going to be very familiar, very similar to what you were just on. You've got your location, your scope of work, and the reason. So whatever work that you were supposed to perform today, but you were not able to because of whatever reason, make sure to include that in here. What we're really looking to get out of this is to understand what you had tried to do or what you were supposed to be doing on the schedule wise, but you weren't able to accomplish because of whatever that reason is. So your location of that work, scope of work, what was the scope that you were trying to perform, and then why you could not do the work. For this one, I highly recommend including a photo, especially if there's an obstacle in the way, or really just documenting and proving why you were not able to do the work. I want to make sure that the general contractors are aware that, hey, we were trying to complete work here and we were truly not able to do that because of XYZ. So make sure to snap a photo or choose a photo from your library. I'm going to go ahead and click continue to kind of bring me back to my list of areas. I'm going to hit the back button at the bottom to bring me to my daily report homepage. We see that we've got unsaved finishes, but if we're happy with everything that we've got in here, we've done our environment, we've got our notes, our surveys been filled out, our labor, our equipment, the areas where we worked and where we were not able to work. So we are happy with what this has ended up as. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select finish in the bottom right hand corner. Are you sure you want to submit this? We're going to go ahead and select yes, and that's going to fire it off to whoever needs to receive it. So it will be sent at that point. Keep in mind that once you click finish, once it submits, you're no longer going to have access to that in your phone. It's going to be gone. It's no longer in the draft. So just be cognizant that you have completed the complete daily report before you go ahead and send it off. If you need to save it and kind of work on it later in the day, that's the kind of the route when you would save it. Once you're done with it for good, go ahead and click finish. After you hit OK, you can go back to your home page and we see that everything has been sent off.